Check. Okay. Let me do a quick check to see if everything is coming through. The beat isn't coming through. Why is that? I forgot what I did last time. Um, I just flipped it on and off. Did that make a difference? Okay, I just flipped it on and off with the Stream Deck. Did that do anything? Nope, it did not pass to me. One thing I know I can do is put it on monitor, but that's not what I did. Okay, I have to flip this stream track button that gets flipped off every time, apparently, when I log in. Don't know why Streamlabs all of a sudden just started doing this kind of stuff to me. Okay, so this stream, I am going to start working on the basics of making a user interface in JUCE. And I'm also going to package the plugin for distribution with the Mac Packages app. I'm also going to do the same thing on Windows with the Windows installer that I use. But to switch to my Windows PC, I'd have to turn the stream on and off, which I don't think is great, and it's super easy. So I might just make a quick video about it and upload it, but it's really easy. Let's do the distribution first. So best way to test this is let's open Logic and make sure that we don't have any instances of the plugin saved. So stream intro. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Okay, and close Logic. And what we're gonna do is, this is the Packages app right here. And by default, you have, oh, by the way, let's see, this is, if I just do Mac packages, oh, is it in the App Store? I don't remember. No, I guess not. Let's see. Is this it? Packages? Yeah, this is it. Okay, this is it. Packages. Yeah. So just download that, then you'll open it, and I think what you choose is distribution. I always forget there's two options. Oh, I think it's raw package actually. Yeah, raw package that lets you install files at specific locations. And when I hit next, we'll be able to see. So I'm gonna hit next. Project name, I'm gonna make this intro Mac installer. Project directory, I'm just gonna put it like on the desktop or something. So yeah, put it on the desktop, hit create, and this is the wrong, I chose the wrong one. Okay, remind me later. It is the distribution one. Let's go ahead and just erase that. So what did I call it? This Stream Juice Intro Mac installer. Okay, get rid of that, go to packages, and it's the first one, distribution. Stream Juice Intro Mac installer, and I'll put it on the desktop. Create, and we get presented with this. So basically what we're going to want to do, we have this sidebar right here, packages, and that's each of the installers. So like you'll have a, let's say a AU and a VST3, and this is actually really simple to use. So this first one, we'll click on it, and we want to change the name to just like AU. And the software is kind of weird. You can't right click and change the name. You have to click in a very specific spot off to like the corner. So you have to move the mouse right outside of the text right here. And if you click in the right spot right there, you'll be able to change the name. So I'll just say AU. And we come into this identifier, and this will be the name of the company. So Viator DSP. And then this is AU. So I'll make that AU. And that's basically all we have to do. And then we come into the payload right here. And this is where we're going to put the software. Okay, so let me pull up the Finder. Why is it so big? So what we'll do is we'll take the plugins, the AU and the VST that we want to put into the installer, and we'll put it in this project. So desktop, Stream Juice, and I'll put it right here. So we need to actually go get the plugins, and Stream Juice intro, and builds, build, debug, whatever. And here's the component. Did we actually build a VST? I don't think we did. So this is just an alias, so we have to say show original, and this is the plugin folder, so we'll take it out of there and we'll just put it in here. And I don't think, is this actually a VST? Let's just go here and build the VST. Okay, there we go. There's the VST. Same thing, we'll say show original, and we'll take it out of there and put it in here. And now that they're out of here, they shouldn't exist in Logic anymore. So let's open Logic and make sure that it's not there. That way, when we make the package and installer, we can actually make sure that it works correctly. So let's go to Viator DSP. It's supposed to be called stream something, right? Which I don't see. So we should be good there. Logic doesn't think it exists anymore. Cool, so we've got that. Go back to packages. And what we've got to do is we've got to put the plugins in the spot that it's supposed to go on the computer. So that spot is in, go to folder. It is, so we'll go to library. So it's library, audio, plugins. There's a VST, and then there's a components. So we actually need to create those folders, which is actually just giving this installer instructions on where to put it. So we'll go to library because it already has library, but we need audio, plugins, and then VST. So this is the AU. So we'll hit the plus button. And oh wait, no, I'm sorry, not the plus button. Just right click, new folder, and it's called audio. And then new folder, plugins. Is that how? Yeah, plugins like that. And then another one called components. Oh, it's not typing. Components. And then we'll put the actual file there. So the file is on the desktop, and it is stream something. Stream, yep, here's the component. So we'll put that. So now the installer will put this file that we give it at this directory. And then we could do the same thing for the VST. So VST 3, and I'll take the same identifier and just put VST at the end of it, like that. And then we do the same thing. We go to payload, new folder, audio, plugins, VST, yeah, VST 3, and then we'll put the VST in there. Stream right there, VST, add, and that's it. That's all you have to do. Hit save, go to build, looks like that was successful. And we can go back into the folder here. Let's see, Stream JUCE intro. No, where did I put it? Desktop. Stream JUCE intro installer. Now we have a folder called build, and this is the installer right here. You can upload that to your website or whatever, give that to people. Let's go ahead and run it. Cool, install. And that's it. Let's see if it actually worked. Preferences, plugin manager. Viator, look at that. Stream JUCE intro. It's there. Awesome. That's it. Yeah, it's easy. It's whenever I was trying to figure out how to do it, it took me forever to figure out how to do it. Mainly because I couldn't change the name of this, because you literally have to put your mouse in the exact position and click. But yeah, once I figured that out, now it actually works. Now, you know, obviously when you get an installer from another, like from a big company, there's a lot of custom scripting and like a lot of extra functionality, like you know, deleting the folder that's, or deleting the file that's already at that location and stuff, which, you know, I'm not doing here. But there is an option for scripts, and you could put in your own shell scripts that do whatever, and you can do a pre-installation and post-installation. But I mean, I don't need to do that, so it's whatever. Yeah, so that's packages. And the Windows one is even quicker. So yeah, I'll make I think I'll just do a short little video on the Windows one. It'll probably be easier than switching over and try to do a stream on PC. So yeah, that's it. It's there. What I'm gonna do though is close that. I'm gonna go take it out. Oh, it's actually not that library, it's this one. So if I want to take it out, I got to go to this one. Plugins, BST3. Let's delete that. And components, let's delete that. And also, you'll notice I put the debug build in that installer, and you're definitely going to want to do the release build instead. So let me go back here and build this again, since this is what we're going to use to prototype. And we should be good. Okay, cool. Let's do some UI stuff. Or actually, yeah, let's do some UI stuff. Okay, so this is the editor, the plugin editor, and this is what controls all of the GUI related stuff. So we have a header file and a CPP file, just like the plugin processor, and there's only a few methods in the editor. So we have the constructor. The constructor is setting the size of the plugin at the end of the constructor, and usually you'll do a lot of initialization in the constructor. We also have a destructor that, just like the plugin processor, will be called whenever the UI shuts down. So this is good to clean up memory, particularly if you're using if you're setting look and feel classes anywhere in your plugin. In the destructor, you're going to want to set them to null pointer in the destructor so that you don't have any memory leak. We have the paint method, which gives you access to JUCE's graphics class, and you can see by default there's a little bit of graphic stuff going on, which gives you a good insight into what you can do with the graphics class. You can fill colors, you can set fonts, you can draw text, you can draw shapes, you can fill shapes with color, you can draw lines and paths and all kind of cool stuff. And just as an example, let's build it real quick. So let me turn off the generic editor. So we'll comment this out, put that back, and then we should have the default editor that this is actually controlling. Cool, so we've got this JUCE stream thing. Okay, so let's do some stuff with that. Let's change this to like a different color. So inside of JUCE and colors, you can just exit that, hit on Mac it's Command P for completion. I'm not sure if it's Control P on Visual Studio or not. You know, I don't know, you just have to look. But there's all kinds of colors that you can choose from by default. There's one that I like using called White Smoke. We can change the font size. Let's change it to something like 36. And then instead of justified to the center, let's do centered top. Cool. So you can see that if you rely on autocomplete, you'll see all of the available methods that you can use for each of these things. So let's just see what that looks like real quick. Cool. We can change the background color. You can see in this fill all, we've got all this extra stuff, get look and feel, find color, resizable window, background color ID, blah, blah, blah. All this is really doing is saying, fill the background with this background ID. So we can actually erase all of this and just use JUCE colors. So JUCE colors, and then let's do black. So there we go, black. It's a little hard to look at, but there's all kind of cool stuff that you can do with the colors. So while you're on a color, you also have access to other methods inside of that. So on the color, you can say dot brighter and darker, and you can just put in a value. Like for black, I usually put 0.1 and it makes it look nice. Yeah, that's a little more flat, modern looking. And then you can also you can change the alpha. So you can do with alpha. I don't know, it always has a hard time auto completing it, but it definitely works. With alpha, you have to specifically give it a float. You have to put F or it won't work. And there we go, we've turned the alpha down, which, you know, isn't as obvious in this example, but I mean, you know, it works. So we've got brighter, darker with alpha, and just using those three things, you can do a lot of cool stuff with color. And then if we use, instead of colors with an S, and we just use color, we can use RGBA values. So we could say from, and there's a couple different options. You can do HSL, so hue, saturation, lightness, hue, saturation, brightness. You can do RGB, you could do RGB with an alpha. You can do from string, which would be like the hash, you know, like if you go to HTML color picker and it'll give you like a hashtag and then the 6 letters or numbers. You can do float RGBA. So let's just do one of those real quick. So like, I don't know, red. Let's make it red. So we give the red value 1. We'll give the other value 0. So that is completely red. And we'll give it an alpha of 1. And it should give us this really ugly red color. Yep, that is atrocious to look at. And then this, like I said, this is the alpha, so we can turn that down to like 0.25. That'll give us something. Yeah. Oh, that actually looks pretty good. I like that. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go back to that black. So I'm gonna say colors. Black dot brighter. Oh, look, brighter finally comes up. I'm gonna say 0.1. Yep. And build it. Cool. Now let me make the window wider, and I can do that in the constructor. Oh, and let me say also, the other method we have is resized. Okay, so basically resize gets called every time the plugin window changes size. So this is usually where you want to put like your logic for setting up a component size, because if you put it in resize, you can set it up in a way that every time the plugin window resizes, the component itself also resizes. The paint method also gets called, I think, every time resized gets called. I've used debug statements to see when they get called, and it seems like they both get called twice on startup for some reason. And then they get called every time the plugin window resizes. So yeah, basically we only have these 4 methods: the constructor, the destructor, paint and resize. So it's pretty simple to work with. And in the constructor, this is where we're setting the plugin size. So I'm gonna make it bigger because I want to put a bunch of different components on there just to show you what they look like. So I'm gonna make this like, I don't know, 900 by, or actually let's make it like 1000 by 500, just so that we have a lot of space. Awesome. Now we have a big window. Okay, cool. So the first thing, to see what components we even have access to, like what JUCE offers, let's go to the class index. And I don't know if there's a better way to search, but I usually put in component. And then these are all of the components. So like, for example, some of the stuff that I use all the time, button, label, slider is somewhere in here, combo box. Oh, concertina panel is cool. File browser component, list box, menu bar component, text editor, table header, stretchable layout, resize bar, splash screen, sliders right there, scroll bar, online unlock form. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in here that I haven't even used yet. In fact, I'd like to start trying to use the online unlock form just to, just to know how it works and to be able to use it. Not like I'm going to make people pay for my plugins anytime soon, but maybe having an online unlock form would be cool. So let's go to slider. And this is how you read the documentation. So let's scroll down a little bit. We see all the public types. So we have different slider styles. We have linear horizontal, linear vertical, all of these, rotary. Yeah, and then different text box positions. We have the color IDs for the slider. And then down here, we have all of the methods that the slider has, and also the constructor. So it looks like it has 3 constructors. It has a default constructor with no argument, one where you can put in the component name, and one where you can actually give it the slider style and the text box entry box position. That's actually kind of cool. Yeah. So since it has a default constructor, we can actually just go in and we can go into the header and we can say, I'm going to put it under the processor thing right there. We can say JUCE slider. And then this one's going to be a fader. So let's call it fader. Okay. Now to get a component onto the screen and to be able to look at it, for most components, like I said, I haven't used every single one, but pretty much all of them, you have to call add and make visible and set bounds for them to show up. So add and make visible, usually call in the constructor. So fader, and this will make sure that it is visible. And then resized is going to be setting this, or set bounds is going to be setting the size of the component, and we're going to put it in the resized function. So we'll say fader dot set bounds, and you give it a x y, so that's the starting position, and then you give it a width and height. So let's give it a starting position of like, I don't know, 24 and 24. The width doesn't need to be very wide. 32 is probably fine, but the height, let's see, our height of the window is like 500, so I'll make it like, I don't know, 256, something like that. And there we go. We have a slider, but it looks kind of weird, right? Well, that's because we didn't set up any of the options. So for one, we need to tell it what kind of slider it is. So I'll say fader dot. Like I said, if you're not sure what's available, you can either go to the documentation and look through all of these public member functions that you have access to, or you can just hit dot and see what kind of comes up for you. So I know I want to do something where I set the slider style. Set slider style. Yep. So this is an enum, right? I think we've seen that before. Slider style is up here, right there. So it's an enum. So that means that you use the double colon to access it. So this enum is inside of slider. So it'd be JUCE : slider for the class, : slider style for the enum, and then another : and then whichever one of these you want. So in the code, also let me close logic. It's wasting CPU. So we should be able to say, like I said, JUCE : slider for the class, the enum we want, which is what the method takes in, which is slider style, and then which one we want. And I'm just gonna do, this is a fader, so I'm gonna say linear vertical. And then I also want to make the text box be below it. Set text box style. So this is going to be very similar. Text entry box position. If we go to the documentation, text entry box position, we've got no text box left, right, above, or below. Pretty simple. So JUCE slider text box below. Is read only. I'm going to say false. I like being able to type into the text box. Now the text entry box width, I think I've found that using a set hard-coded size works good. So let's just make it 32. And then the height, does it really matter? Let's see. Actually, I don't remember. I think I do like 64 and 32, something like that. Something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, there we go. There's a slider. You can see, yep, the fill color is this dark color. So you could see, let me make the text box wider. I think the slider itself needs to be wider. So let's make it, let's say 72, and make the text box also 72. Cool. Now you might be wondering why there's a million decimal places, and that's because we need to set the set range method. So by default it's going from 0 to 10, but it's also, you know, giving you a whole bunch of decimal places, which isn't cool. And you can see that when we're at 0, this background is the non-filled in color, and then when you pull it up, you've got a fill color which is dark, which doesn't look good against this black right here. So let's actually change that. Let's see, what order should we do this in? Let's do the set range so that we get rid of that. So if we go to documentation, we can see set range somewhere. Right here, it takes in a minimum, a maximum, and you can also give it an interval value if you want, meaning the space between each slider position. And you can see in C++, if you see an argument in a method where it says, you know, the argument name and then equals 0, that means that it's already set to that number and you don't need to pass it in. But if you do pass it in, you'll change it. So it's pretty useful. And I use it all the time. So fader.set range, let's do -24 to 24. And then let's give it that interval value. I think I usually do like 0.1. And you'll be able to see that each little notch on the slider is going to give us 0.1. You can also see we don't have a million zeros anymore. So you can see the interval value working by 0.1. Very cool. And we can change the colors of everything. So let's change that fill color. So fader.set color. And by the way, most well, not most of these functions, but set color you can use on any component. It doesn't have to be slider. So the public member functions on the documentation, this is going to be the functions that are just in this class. Like in our case, it's slider. But if you scroll down, you can see Public member functions inherited from component. So that means that since slider is a component, it also has these other, it also has these other functions that can be used on any component. So like set visible is visible. Set color, I think, is one of them. Get X, get Y, get width, get height. That's something I use all the time. Set bounds. I don't know if I skipped it already, but I'm pretty sure set color is one of those. But yeah, anyway, we can see that slider actually inherits from a bunch of different stuff. Yeah, so cool. And let's actually change the color. So set color, we need the color ID. If you go to the documentation, that's towards the top. Color ID is right here, and it's an enum, just like slider style and text entry box position. It's the same thing. And we have a couple of different things. We've got background color, thumb color, track color, fill color. And you can actually use this number. You can see that background color ID is equal to this number, and you could use this number if you want, but that's really dumb because how would you, if you're just looking at the code, how would you know what thing that color applies to? So it's easier to just use this ID right here. So we could say color ID JUCE slider because it's in slider. Color IDs, and then what did I say we want to change? The fill. Let's see, that's rotary fill. What is the other one? Background. Maybe it is rotary fill. Maybe it uses it for everything. Let's see, rotary fill. And then let's just set a color that should be obvious. Colors like white smoke should work. Okay, so it didn't work. So maybe it's track. Okay, yeah, it was track. So the fill color is actually called track for the linear slider, and the fill color for the rotary dial must be the rotary fill. And the reason I assume that it was rotary fill is because a lot of the JUCE look and feel classes share color IDs with each other. So like, for example, I think the combo box uses the group component for its border color or something like that. That might not be the correct example, but there are examples of components that use other components color IDs, which is common in some of the JUCE stuff. So yeah, and that's actually yeah, do we need to change anything else for this slider? We've got, I mean, whatever. We can change it to a dial. So instead of linear vertical, we could do rotary. And I usually do vertical drag. I don't like horizontal drag. You can do horizontal and vertical drag. Oh, but we're gonna have to change the size. The size is gonna look ridiculous, watch. Yeah, so look how the dial is like really small and the text box is all the way down here. That's because when you're using the rotary slider style, you need to make the width and height the same value for it to kind of look right. So that's better. So now the text box is closer to the actual dial. And you can see that the fill isn't working anymore because I think now we have to use rotary fill for the color ID. So that, oh, and let's do this also. Let's change the alpha with alpha 0.5F. Cool, check that out. It's a little more pleasing. Cool. Oh, and also, let's implement there's a handy function for the slider where you can double click and have the slider go to a certain value. So let's do that. This isn't really a fader anymore, but we can change that. Fader set, it's called double click return value. So bool should double click be enabled. Yes, true. And then what value do we want to go to? Let's say 0. So now we can move the dial somewhere and we can double click and it goes back to 0, which is pretty cool. Okay. So this isn't really a fader anymore, and I kind of don't want to use, I don't really like using the slider without having a custom look and feel. So let's change the name here. And this is something I wish I knew about when I started also. You can just right click on the name, go to refactor, rename, and I'll just type in dial and it will change the name everywhere that it's referenced. So you can see now all the faders have been changed to dial, and I'll just hit enter. And there we go. They're all called dial now. Yeah, so let's make the plugin size resizable now. So I actually kind of forgot what it is. So I assume it's an audio processor editor. Let's see. Yeah, set resizable. Okay. So I should be able to just say set resizable. Allow host to resize true. Use bottom right corner resizer, I guess. So if we do that, now we have this little corner triangle thing right here, and you can resize the plugin. And you can see that the size of the slider and the position isn't moving. Oh, we hit an assertion because I made it too small or something, but yeah. You can see that the slider, the dial wasn't changing position. That's because the numbers are hard coded. So let's change that in a second. Let's do one more thing. I'd like to set the resize limits so that it stays a rectangle. Is it resize limits? Or no, it's ratio. Set size, no, set aspect ratio. Huh, I forgot what it's called. I'm just gonna do a text search and do ratio. It's gotta be somewhere. Aspect ratio. No. What is it called? I don't think it's a resize limits because is it constrainer? I don't know. Let me open up a project that uses it. This definitely uses it. So UI methods, init window. Get constrainer, set fixed aspect ratio. Interesting. Okay. So get constrainer and then the arrow, which is the dot operator, but on something that's a pointer. So fixed aspect ratio. So this, since we're a rectangle, we can say 2.0 because the aspect ratio is 2, 500 to 1000. And that way, when we resize it, it should keep it as a rectangle as we're moving it. Yep, I'm not able to do anything else. Cool, so that's helpful. We can also set the limit so that the user can't make it way too small or way too big. Set resize limits. So I think the best thing to do probably would just make it like half at the low side, and then double at the large size, or maybe even not double, but plus 1.5, which would be what, 750. Actually, the best way to do this would probably be to see the best way to do this is actually to use all of this, get the desktop instance, get the displays, get the primary display, and get the area. But I mean, that's a lot of stuff to do at the moment. Just as you're starting out, this is good enough. So let's do let's just leave it like that. I mean, it doesn't matter. Let's just build it. Cool. So it shouldn't let us get, yeah, it won't let us get any smaller than that and any larger than that, and that's probably too large. But let's do something like this: 800, 400, 1200, 600, something like that. Cool. Whatever. 250. Okay, cool. So let's make the resizing actually affect the dial. So the way to do this would be to make some variables that are based off of the plugin size, and then plug those variables into the set bounds instead of hard coding. So right now we're saying 24 and 24 for the X and Y position, but instead of that, we can make a left and right margin. So let's do left margin. If we want it to be 24, we can just say is equal to get width, which gives you the width of the entire window. And we could just multiply it by something that gives us about 24. So let's see, let me get my calculator. Or let's see, 24 divided by 0.0, oh, I'm dumb, of course, 0.024. So let's just say 0.02. And then auto top margin is equal to get height times probably half of that, right? 0.04. And then we can plug in left margin right here and top margin right here. And that should make the position of the dial move with the resizing of the plugin. Let's just make sure it works first and then go into a little bit more. Let's see. Yeah, so the position is moving with the resizing, and that's because get width is always getting the current width of the plugin. And since resize gets called every time the plugin resizes, this value will always change to be whatever, you know, based off of the current size. So if everything you plug into your set bounds is based off of, you know, the width and height of the window, you should be good. So with the dial, it's a little easier since we know that the width and height can be the same value. We can make one called dial size, and then my line of thinking is whenever it's a rectangle, I'll use the width. I guess because the number is larger and that's always changing. It doesn't really matter, but I like using everything based off of the width. So let's do get width. We know we want it to be around 200, so that should be fine, right? So now the dial size is based off of the width of the plugin. So the size should change. Yep, look at that. The size changes and the position changes while the plugin window moves. Yeah, so that's pretty simple. That's pretty simple to implement. There are other ways to do this. There's something called a flexbox, which lets you set up like this grid-based, UI grid that it conforms to, which requires a lot more code and work. And I've used it before, and most of my first plugins on my Patreon, like the first like 3, probably used the flexbox, and then I went back to using this just because I feel like I have more control and it's a little easier, and I'm used to it. So and you're really able to put something exactly where you want, whereas when you use the flexbox, you have like these columns and rows that you have to conform to, which you can definitely make it look the way you want, but I just feel like this gives you more like low level control. So let's do a different component. Let's do a button. And also, let's take all this code and let's just turn it into a method so that we don't have all of this code, ugly code blocking our way. So let's say dial, and then let's say void init dial. And what we could do is okay, for this example, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go below resized because I'm probably not going to use, or what am I trying to say? I'm not gonna edit this init dial function probably, so it can be out of sight and out of mind. So we could put it down here, and we could say init dial, and we have to implement it. We could take all of this code, and we could say init dial over here, and then now instead of writing all of that in the constructor, we can just say init dial, and it should work. Oh yeah, remove from top and stuff. Okay, yeah, let's do that. And we see that the dial, the init dial function works. Okay, cool. So thanks for that suggestion. Remove from top. Okay, so if I remember right, when you remove from top, the component goes up, and if you remove from the bottom, it goes down, or I might have that backwards. So let's pull up remove from top. All right, you use that on the rectangle, so you would use that on the bounds. Okay, so you also have these things: remove from top, bottom, left, right. Let's see, and yeah, you could also use reduced, expanded, blah blah blah. But the remove from top is usually pretty useful. So removes a strip from the top of this rectangle, reducing this rectangle by the specific amount, and returning the section that was removed. If the rectangle is 100, 100, 300, 300, and the amount to move is 50, this will return 100, 100, 350, and leave this rectangle as that. So let's just see what it looks like when we do it. So so let's make the margin much higher. Let's make it like 0.2. Oh, I did it on the left margin. Top margin is what I wanted. Yeah, okay, so then let's use remove from top and see what happens. Let's see. So I will say, right, so instead of set bounds like this, there's another set bounds option that uses the rectangle. right here. Instead of taking in an X, Y, a width, and a height, it takes in a rectangle. So the actual editor itself has a rectangle, so it's called get local bounds. So if we call get local bounds, that gives us the rectangle of the editor. So if we just leave it like this, the dial will pretty much take up the entire window. Right, which is not what we want. So first of all, let's make it smaller. So we can use the reduce, I think, right? So value type, wait, reduce. Shrinks the rectangle by a given amount. So let's do dot reduce. And I'm not sure exactly what. I'm gonna do 5 and 5. See what that looks like. Oh wait, oh wait, am I not supposed to call that on? Wait, why didn't it like that? Wait, what am I doing wrong? So let's make auto new bounds equal to get local bounds, and that should give us a rectangle. So let's do new bounds reduce. No, I'm still doing something wrong. Where am I? What am I doing wrong? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Reduce, this is on, scroll all the way to the top. Yeah, this is on rectangle. One thing I know we can do, let's get rid of this. We could do with size, right? Or actually, let's try remove and let's see what happens. Cool. So we remove from top, and let me rebuild that a second. So we removed 100 from the top of the rectangle, which 500. So if we remove from the bottom, or let's try 10 instead of 100. I think I just forgot how the remove from top and stuff works. I never use it. Oh, we could do this. Get local bounds. We could say with size, which is helpful. Dial size. So that'll just give us the kind of same thing we had, but just a different way of writing it. That's with size. We can also do dot expanded reduce, shrinks the rectangle by a given amount. That's the one that didn't work. I don't know why that doesn't work. I mean, it says int. Am I supposed to use a double? No, okay. Ignoring reduce. Get width and get height is really useful if you want to make it the size of another component. You can also get X and get Y. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Okay. Let me go back to this. Honestly forgot how to use their reduce and remove from top and stuff because I barely ever use it. So that's the dial. We could also turn this into a method, the window size. So we could say, we could put it up here. Voids, init window. And then we need to pull our class name and stuff. Init window. And we could take this stuff out. It's a init window. So look how much cleaner that constructor looks. And you might say, well, all we're doing is moving it from right there to down here. I mean, how much of a difference does that make? You could also, let's build it. Cool. You can also, we put this back to what it was. Put it in another file so that it's more organized. So what we could do is go into the Pro Juicer. Actually, let's go into Finder first. We'll go to the stream juice intro. We'll go here, source. This is where all the source files are. And let's make a folder called, so I'll just say dials. And I'll also say, I don't know, window. And inside of that, we have to go into the file explorer, go to source, hit the plus button to add it. So add existing files, and we'll pull in this dial and window folder so that they're actually there. I'll go into dial and I'll make a CPP file. And I'll just say demo dial. And then window, I will make another CPP file that says, I don't know, window, init window. Let's do that. Build. And now what we could do is go into those two CPP files. We need to connect them to the editor, because what we're going to want to do is take this and put it in the dial file, and we're going to want to take this and put it in the window file. And to do that, they both have to be pointed to the plugin editor. So just like this, we have to use an include. So dial, we're going to include, I think I can just say plugin, or I'm sorry, do I have to say dot? Where is it? Yeah, plugin editor. So we have to go out of the folder with dot and slash, and now we have the plugin editor. And then we could do the same thing, put that in the window one. So now they both are attached to the plugin editor. So we should, oh, don't forget your, yeah, I forgot that one too. Okay, cool, that should be good. And now we should be able to move this into the dial. And we should be able to move this inside of the window. And this is a good way to keep your project nice and organized, so that you don't have, what you don't want to end up with is a plugin editor with like a million methods going down the page. It's a lot easier if, you know, each of your files you can like look at without having to scroll too much. So now whenever Init Dial gets called, it should see it in demo dial right here. And then whenever Init window gets called, it should see it in Init window. And if we ever need to add other things that are related to the window, we can just make a function, and then just like this right here, we can define it and put it down here, and we'll be able to add things. And let's make sure that it actually builds and works. Cool, still works, perfect. So yeah, that's another thing I wish I was doing whenever I started out, because I went a long time without doing that. And according to the guys in Discord, I did this for a while, and then I thought it wasn't as good. And then I talked to some guys in the JUCE Discord, and they said that they do it this way. So good enough for them is good enough for me. Yeah, so let's do some more components. Let's do a button. Yeah, let's do a button. And we're not going to put it in files like that. I just wanted to show you, if I do that for everyone, it'll take up some time. So let's just keep going. What am I doing? Oh, I like to use the text button. And then I'll just call it button. Okay. And go to the editor. We'll say add and make visible button. We'll need to call set bounds, but we also need to give the button some text so that we can see what's happening. So we can do that pretty easy. Button dot set. Just type text and see what comes up. Yep, button text. And it wants a string, so we use our double quotes. And I'll just say my button. Or actually something actually means something. Let's see, phase. And let's do this. This will be interesting to show you. Button dot set bounds. And let's set the bounds based off of the dial. So let's put the button on the right side of the dial, equal distance away from the dial with the left margin. So we could say The X position is going to be the dial dot get X plus the dial dot get width plus left margin, and that should put it on the right side of the dial, an equal distance between the dial and the left margin. I guess we could just give it top margin, and we could make a button width and height variable. Button width is equal to get width. I'm not really sure. Let's do like that maybe. I don't know if that's too small or not, but we'll see. We'll do button height, which is going to be half a button width. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, it's kind of small, but whatever. And you can see when we toggle it, it's not actually toggling, it's just clicking once, and we can actually set it to where it toggles, and we can change the color of the toggled on state as opposed to the toggled off state. And yeah, it gets way too small. So let's change this. And this is the cool thing about using these variables. Like, imagine if we had 10 buttons. If they didn't have this variable, I'd have to go in and change the size on all of them. But if they all had this variable, I just come in right here and I do that. And it would change it for all of them. That's better. So let's make it actually toggle. It's a text button by default, so it doesn't actually toggle on and off. You kind of use it as like a one-click thing, but you could use it as a toggle button. There is a JUCE toggle button, but it looks very different. So let's turn this one into a toggle. So we could say button dot set clicking toggle state, and true, it toggles the state. And then we could set the colors for the different states. And without looking at the docs, I'll show you how to do it with just kind of let an X code point you in the right direction. Color. So just like slider, let's assume that there's a text button, color IDs, and then I'm just gonna type on. Yeah, button on color ID. And let's give it a color. We'll say JUCE color. And we'll say, I don't know, blue. No, yellow. Light goldenrod yellow. Let's use that one. And then let's do an off color. So I'm just gonna copy this. And this will be off. Text color off. And I'm gonna use like gray or something. Dim gray. Cool. All right, so that's off and that's on. And the text color also doesn't look very good. In fact, we could probably just put the text color to black by default and it would look good on both. So let's see if there's a... Oh, I did text color off ID. Hold up. I need it to be... Oh, okay. Off is just button color ID. On is button on. And then text color off. We can, yeah, so we can do a different one for off and on. So let's just do black. We could do black for both. It probably look fine. Text color on. So now we have button on color, the button off color, which is just called button color. Text color off and text color on. Let's see what that looks like. Cool. It's toggling. Very nice. I also want to move it down. Actually, let's just move the entire top margin down. Top margin, so I don't know, something like that. That's cool. Very cool. Let's do a toggle button. The toggle button's a little easier. There's not a lot of extra stuff that you would do with it. So we'll say add and come on, autocomplete. I don't understand why Xcode does this. Toggle. And I mean, for the toggle, I think we just call add and make visible and set bounds and it'll be fine. Set bounds. Let's put it right under the button. So the X position will be the same as the button. So we can just say button.getX. The Y position, I guess we'll say button.get Y plus button.get height, but that will put it immediately touching the bottom part of the button, so we can add a little bit of padding, like 12 or something. And then we'd probably need to make another variable. Auto toggle size is equal to get width maybe back to 05. Toggle size, and we could put that, the toggle button is a square, so we can just put the same variable in both X and width and height. Let's see if that does what I thought it would do. Yeah, there it is right here. And it automatically is a toggle, and it does a little check mark. Let's go to the docs real quick. And if I go to toggle button, color IDs, the text color, the tick color ID, and the tick disabled color ID. Oh, and we can add I forgot we can add a text to the toggle. Okay. Toggle dot set, is it text? Button text. Okay. And then we'll give it I don't know, I'll just call it power. And then it was kind of small. Let's give it the other button width and see if it makes a difference. Now it's going to give us a warning saying we're not using toggle size. Oh, it doesn't actually. So I guess it has a set size. But you could override that with the look and feel, but that's a topic for another video. But yeah, that's the toggle button. Very cool. Even though it doesn't matter, I'm going to put toggle size back into there. Okay, let's do a label. Labels are also very simple. Not a lot of stuff that you can do with them. We're gonna put this on the dial. So what we're gonna say is add, make visible dial label. We need to set the text of the label. Set text. I'm just gonna call it like gain. That's good enough. And then it wants this notification type, which I never use. It's something that you can use to notify other components of something. I haven't utilized that at all. So you can just tell it not to send a notification. So it's inside of JUCE, and then you just type don't, and it'll say don't send notification. And we're actually not going to use set bounds on the label, because the label has this really cool method called attach to component. So we could say dial label attach to component, and it wants the address, or it wants the address of the component we want to attach it to. So we can use the ampersand and then the component, which is button. And it has bool on left. It basically will let you do either on left or not, which is kind of weird. Usually there's other options, but it's just a bool, so it's just yes or no. So we're gonna say false so that it's not. And then let's see what that looks like. Oh wow, it oh wait, I put button. Why did I do that? Dial. Yeah, and then for some reason it's offset, so we can also do dial label dot set. I think it's justification. Yeah, justification. So we say JUCE justification centered, and that should fix it. Yeah, there we go. Gain is in the middle. We've got this. Yeah. So what are some of the other components that we use? Let's do this. I don't want to actually use the toggle. I want to put the button under the dial, because it'll make sense with what we have. Our DSP right now is volume and phase, so I just want to put those on the UI. So let's see, I want the X position to be, well, let's think about this. Okay, so the dial's width is about like from here to here or something. So can we make the button based off of that? Because it would make sense if we want to do something like, basically I want to put the phase button right here, but I want it to look nice and centered. So if the phase button was half of the width of the dial, maybe not even half, maybe a quarter. So let's do this. Let's see what it looks like. Button width, and let's make it dial size times 0.25, and see what that looks like. It's kind of small, but I bet by 0.5 would be way too big. Yeah, that's huge. So let's just go back. Let's do 0.33. Okay, that's fine. So let's think about this. If the phase takes up 1/3 of the dial, that means that its X position needs to be at the X position plus 1/3. Then it'll take up 1/3, and 1/3 will be left, I think. So dial, so the X position needs to be the dial.getWidth plus dial.getWidth times 0.33, and the height needs to just be below the dial somewhere. So dial.get y plus dial.get height, and then plus some amount. I don't know. I'll just put 24 and see what it looks like. Pretty much perfect, I think. Although I think because we can see the border of the text box, it makes it look like it's off center a little bit. So we'll just we'll get rid of the border color, and let's take out this 24. Okay, that will work when we take the border color out. Okay, so let's do that. Let's take the border color out. So in demo dial, put it under set color. I'm assuming it's going to be text box outline. And if we want to get rid of the color, we just give it a color with a 0 alpha. So turning the alpha down to 0. What? Text box outline color ID. Why smoke with alpha 0? Why is that not working? What? Text box or around the text editor box. That should be it. Colors white smoke dot with alpha. What if I give it one of the transparent colors? Transparent black. What? How? Something's not right. No, it's not changing it. What is going on? I don't think the order is messing anything up. Okay, this is really weird. I don't know why this is happening. What if I take all of this out, get rid of Init Dial. And, well, first of all, I think I need to put a init window here. Okay, so was it the init window that was messing it up? No, it just doesn't like it being inside of this method. That's really weird. I don't know what's going on with that, but I've never seen that happen before. Okay, I don't know, whatever. Let's just leave it like that for now. Okay, we can also do a combo box, which is like a menu. I'm gonna get rid of toggle button since we're not using it. It's called combo box. Menu. I'll call it menu. We can do add and make visible. Menu. We need to give it a default, what's it called? Text like if nothing is chosen. Set text when nothing's selected. So like when it initializes, let's just say choices. And then let's use set bounds to put it somewhere on the screen. Menu dot set bounds. I'll say I'll just put it to the right of the dial, so the dial.getX plus dial.getY. The Y I'll just put it at top margin so that it's not around them, and I'll just make it the same size as the button. It doesn't really matter. Let's just see what it looks like. So here it is, called choices. And it has no choices because all we did was set the text whenever nothing's selected. And it looks like I need to make it a little wider because the text looks a little weird. So I could just go button width and say times 1.5 to make it wider. And then we can actually give it some choices, like some items. So we can do that with menu dot set. No, add item, I think it's called. Add item, yeah. So the text of the item, so let's just say, I don't know, EQ. And new item ID. So just like the number of what it is. And it doesn't start at 0, which you might think when you think about like arrays and stuff, it starts at 1. So let's just make a couple of these. And then let's change it to 2 and 3. And then let's say like compressor or something. And clipper. Cool, and now we have those options put in. Now all of these components, or I mean not all of them, but most of them will have some kind of on action method. So like the dial, it's called on value change, which will let you write some code that executes when the dial changes. And then for buttons, it's like on click. And then for the menu, it's on choice or something. Hold up, combo box. And if you scroll, if you're on the docs for one of the components, if you scroll down past the public member functions, you'll get something that says std function void, and that's usually where there's going to be like on change. It's called on change to have them do something. So real quick, let's do that for each of them. This isn't the way we're going to use to actually interact with the tree state. There's a different class for handling that, but this is something that could be useful for certain things. So we could say after dial, we could say dial dot on change, on value change. And what we need to do is set a function. So you see how it takes in void function void as on change. You can assign a lambda to this. So it's actually pretty easy. So you could do is equal to, and this is how you set up the lambda. You would use brackets and you could say this, you put in parentheses, and then the actual body of the thing you, the actual body of the code block. So you can see it kind of looks like a regular method, except we have this, this keyword in the brackets, and then we have a semicolon. So anything we do in here, or whatever code we put in here, will get executed on value change. And you can see that inside of slider, let's think of something cool we can do when the slider changes. Let's see, let's look at something that's get. So let's get something. Get. We can do get value. Get returns the slider's current value. So get value will give you what the slider's value is. So we can use debug like we use in the audio side, dbg for debug, and this will log something to the console. So when the value changes, we'll say dial.get value, and that should give us the value of the slider, and that should be good to go. And oh, it was already running. So let's hit play. If we watch the console right here, whenever I move the dial, yep, we're getting the numbers. Cool, so that on value change is working for us. Cool, so that's actually really simple. The other way to do this would be to set up like a slider listener and attach the listener and implement and override the listener callback, and that's a whole lot of extra stuff that's unnecessary. This lambda is so much easier. We could do it for the button, so we could say button dot on click, and then the same thing, we do the brackets with this, we do our parentheses, and then we could do curly braces for the body. And we can debug something. We could say button dot get, let's get toggle state. Get toggle state. Oh wait, it doesn't like that. Yeah, the debug statement doesn't like this. Hold up. Maybe if I cast it to like bool. How about now? It still doesn't like it. Int. Okay, so I'll just, instead of using, oh, it worked. And there we go. When it's on, 1, off, 0. Cool. And then for the menu, we could do something that's a little more meaningful. Menu dot on change is equal to brackets this, parentheses, the body, semicolon. We can debug something. So let's debug. You have selected, and then we're gonna need to add something else. So in the debug call, you can put two less than signs to separate statements. So you have selected, and then let's get the current thing we're on. So menu.get selected, or let's get text. I want to get the text of the thing we selected. So let's go back to the docs and see combo box. There's got to be a way to get the text. So we've got get item text and then the item index. Okay, so get item text, get item text, and then the current index. Okay, so I guess it's get something. Get, get item ID, get selected ID. Menu.get selected ID, or get selected item index. That should work. Okay, cool. So whenever we do something, we're gonna print out you have selected, and then we're gonna get the menu item text at the selected item that we have selected. So let's see if that actually works. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't, but it looks right. Look at that. You have selected compressor. You have selected clipper. EQ. Awesome. Big brain programmer. Okay, and then you can use the same logic for the other components. So if we go back and we say component, the only other thing I use regularly is the group component, which is kind of just like a border, and it allows you to like separate parts of the UI. But I mean, there's all kinds of awesome stuff in here. I have used the audio visualizer component, but that takes a lot more setup. That's like a you can use it as like an oscilloscope or something. I haven't ever used the burger menu component, but I haven't had a use for it. This is the group component. The file, I've used the file browser component and the file preview component for like an IR loader and stuff. Let's see, anything else? I would really like to use the progress bar, but I haven't had a need to use it. Like there's nothing I do that the user has to wait for or anything, but I'd like to use one. Group component, and then I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that's cool. System tray icon component would probably be cool, because the system tray I think is whenever it's running in the background, and it's the icon up here. Side panel. So let's just go to the group component. The group component is probably not going to have an on something, because it doesn't actually do anything, but I want to show you because I do use it. So let's just make one real quick. JUCE group component. I'll just call it border because that's basically what it is. Add and make visible. Come on, Xcode. Border. Okay. The only thing we really need to do, you can set the color and you can set like the text, and you can see that in docs. There's not really that many things. Oh yeah, you can do get text label position, get text, set text. There's really not that much. It only has two color IDs, also the text color and then the outline. And I'll show you what it looks like. So let's just set the text. Border, set text. And I'll call it, this is a volume and phase, so I'll just call it utility or something. And then we're gonna set the bounds, and it's gonna basically take up the whole bounds of where the dial and the button are. So Let's see. Border. Set bounds. The X position, I'm probably going to put it at left margin. The Y is going to be top margin. The width is probably going to be dial size. And then the height is going to be... Okay, so dial.get Y plus dial.get height plus, you need to include the button dot get Y plus button dot get height. And then it's probably not going to look perfect. It's going to probably be touching everything, but we can fix that. We just want to make sure that it's in the right general area. Oh, what did I do? It's way too big. The X position, the Y position, the width, dial.get Y, which is here, plus dial.get height, which should be there, plus, oh, plus button.get Y, because the Y position is from here all the way to there. So, what do we need to do? Plus... just button height? Is that all we need to do? Yeah. That's fine. Okay. And then what we need to do is, I guess, just move where the Y position is. So top margin... So let's just do this. Let's say top margin times 0.5 so that it moves it down. See what that looks like. Or moves it up, I should say. Yeah, that's good enough. I'll get rid of the menu because we're not actually going to use that. Let's see, menu, and does it still build? Cool. Cool. Okay, there we go. Our UI. The window doesn't need to be this big, so let's see. The window can just be, let's see. I like the size of the dial. It's okay, it's 250, but that's because it's based off of this width. So let's make it, I don't know, 600 by 300. Is that big enough? That might be too small on small computers. I don't know, but oh, let's make it a rectangle, but the other way. So let's do 300 by 600, and that's gonna look ridiculous because we'll need to adjust the parameters in the, or the variables in the resized. Oh, init window is constraining. So let's do that. And let's make it from 200 to 400 to 400 800. Oh, it's actually bigger than I thought. Oh, maybe I want it to be a square. Okay, there we go. That's a square. Okay, cool. So, like I said, we're gonna need to adjust the size of the components, but I think this window is pretty much what I want. And yeah, so let's see. Left margin, top margin, dial size is gonna be get width. Pretty much the size of the window. Okay, too big. But I think we're in the going the right direction. Let's do 8.5. Okay, we're getting closer. 7.5. Okay. Let's see, what do I want? 6.5 should probably be good. Yeah, that works. Okay, so we just need to shift it over to where it needs to go. Left margin, let's see. So we think about this. The dial, apparently this is 0.65. So what's left of the screen is 0.35. If we make it 0.64, what's left of the screen is 3.4. So the left margin should be 1.7, and that should give us 1.7 on the other side also. Did I math that correctly? Right, so this is 0.64 of the window and then 0.17 and 0.17 on both sides. Big brain. I'm gonna get rid of that JUCE stream stuff. From the paint method. Yeah, cool. So all I need to do now is put this group component where it needs to go. Yeah, so what did I do? Let's see. Border top margin times 0.5, maybe times 0.25 is what I want. And then we're gonna have to make it longer or taller. Okay, yeah, that put it in a good spot. That's actually not too bad. So the height is button dot get. Oh, dial to get Y. And then I don't know, let's add 10 to it. Okay, there we go. There's our UI. You can see how much longer this took than just going into the processor editor and saying return new generic audio processor editor. So I definitely recommend to do all of your DSP first and then sketch out after what you want the UI to look like, because you might end up finding some things in your DSP that could be turned into a dial or something that you didn't expect. Like maybe multiplying one part of your DSP gives you some kind of weird sound and you want to call it something. So you might want to do all your DSP first, and because it's so much faster to have some controls, and then do the UI afterwards. But yeah, here's our UI. A dial and a phase button. Obviously this doesn't look amazing. It's not, you know, we styled the colors, but it's still like the basic JUCE you know, shapes and stuff. So you could use my library that I'm working on. Let's see. If you go to my GitHub, land in Viator DSP, I've got some UI, DSP, and utility classes. So here's what some of my dials look like. That's what my slider looks like. This is a JUCE toggle, and I have it to look like either a power button or a phase button. This is my combo box, the menu. Oh, I forgot, there's actually pictures in here. So if I go to the docs right here, the Viator DSP docs, you can go to GUI classes. We can go to the menu, and I've got an image of what the menu kind of looks like. A couple of them I have actual GIFs, so like the number box, I have a GIF that shows you what it looks like whenever you move it. The push button. Yep. Oh, here's the toggle. Here's my phase button toggle and my power button toggle. So it'll look pretty nice. So if you want to use my UI objects, it's pretty easy. This goes through how to use them, and then the docs also, I feel like, do a pretty good job of telling you how to use it. Yeah, I guess that's it for this stream. Let me get rid of, we're not actually going to use this on click stuff, because what we're going to do is attach the dial and the button to the audio parameters with another class. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stop it right here for now. Thanks for watching. I'll be back Wednesday at 5:30 Central Standard Time, and I guess we'll work on attaching those the UI components to the audio parameters, and that'll pretty much be it for like the complete basic essential functionality of a JUCE project. So yeah, thanks for watching. I will be back Wednesday. All right, see ya.